5 lessons that helped Ashneer Grover build a billion-dollar company. Number 1. A job cannot make you rich. I'm not taking a jibe at people who are working 9 to 5 jobs. After all, I have spent 9 years of my life doing exactly that. My mom has been a government school teacher and my dad ran his CA practice. So it is not as if I come from a business family that looks down upon those who do a 9 to 5 job. It is just that my experience tells me that while with a job you can just about beat the rate of inflation and maintain your lifestyle, you cannot really hope to live it up. This may not go down well with you if you are currently working in a 9 to 5 job. But the truth is, if you want more than just an average lifestyle, if you want to be among the top 5 to 10% of the wealthy people, you will have to forego the lure of regular income. You will have to choose progress over stability. As a businessman, you have to have patience and the appetite to not live by a monthly paycheck. Instead, you have to know that you might get a huge jackpot perhaps once a year, which will be far more than what a person doing 9 to 5 job can ever imagine. Number 2. The innate desire to live the life of someone more successful and be in their shoe. The common advice that we give our children is not to spend time with people who have more money than us. We fear that the child may develop an inferiority complex or will get spoiled. I have a contrarian view. I think it is important to spend time with people who have done better in life than us. That is the only way you will know what you need to aspire towards and what that life is. The next time someone who is financially well-to-do invites you to their house, go there by all means. Observe and aspire. If you do feel small, it is that feeling that might ignite the fire in you to do something. An inner voice will tell you that I need to achieve it too. If they can do it, why not me? Number 3. Fire in your belly. My mantra of success, cliched as it may sound, is to have a strong fire in your belly. Growing up in the middle-class household, I always had the hunger, the unflinching desire to resurrect what my grandparents had lost as immigrants and to rise in life. While I did not come from abject poverty, there was always a gap between my aspirations and the means. In hindsight, this was what motivated me to work towards the life of my dreams. The more you are settled down in your comfort zone, the less motivated you feel to achieve something. As I see it today, the hunger to do something extraordinary is not so prevalent in metro cities. It is in the tier 2 and tier 3 towns and the government school kids that one sees the desire to rise and to turn around one's life for generations to come. Of course, you are more than welcome to prove me wrong. You will only be better off doing it. Number 4. Delegate, delegate, delegate. The thumb rule of the game is that you simply cannot be a one-man army. While you need people, as a founder, you have to be able to delegate work to people so that you can focus on the bigger picture. It may sound easy, but it is actually one of the most difficult transitions to make. The shift from doing to leading. More so since in our education system, we are continuously taught self-reliance and that we need to work hard ourselves, that we need to upskill ourselves and more. But we are never taught that we also need to get the best out of other people. While it is good to know how to do things yourself, as a leader it is not your job to do them. You have teams for that labor. While I don't know how to code, I can create that buzz among techies and get them to work for me. Number 5. Don't be transactional. If investors have been willing to put as much as $625 million into my ability to scale a business, a large part of this success has been because I have never been transactional in my approach. I never think of a person in terms of what he can do for me in that transaction. In a transactional relationship, both parties expect to receive something in return for their investment. These relationships are not based on the idea that you should give without expecting anything in return. When I was raising a Series D round, for example, I did not hesitate from speaking to people who had refused to participate in Series A. The whole world is connected. So to think that you will achieve your goals by speaking to only a certain someone at that point in time is short-sighted thinking. As a founder, you have to live your story and share it with as many as people possible. It doesn't matter if he is a peon, CEO of a company, competition, investor or regulator. That's how your story will propagate exponentially. It is important to remember that collaboration is the cornerstone of human progress and transactional relationships can only get you so far. Now time for the bonus lessons. Ashneer Grover was fired from his own company in 2022. In his book, he shares lessons he learned from his failings as a founder. He wrote, "If I think back, it is perhaps my failings as a founder that led to my being cut short in my path. They are the reason I have this feeling of unfinished business." So here is a list of 5 things that in his experience you shouldn't do, or at the very least do differently. Number 1. Don't forget as a founder that the game is between you and your customer alone. When you are running a business, keep in mind that the only 2 important players are your customers and you. Period. You offer a product or a solution to the customer and the customer is paying you for it. Everyone else, and that includes your co-founder, your employees, your investors, the regulator, third-party vendors, and competition, comes between you and your consumer in some form. Each of them will of course take a piece of your earnings even before anything comes to you. Therefore, before jumping into business, you have to answer many questions for yourself. Are you okay carrying them along? Are you ready for all of them to take a piece? Are you excited enough by what is left after they have taken their piece and by overall uncertainty? There is no doubt that everybody else plays a role in the journey. But to build a successful business, keep in mind that the real story lies between you and your customer alone. The investor is not above you, nor is he a validation. In a legacy business, the founder's key performance indicator is profit, and their standing among peer businessmen depends on their quantum of profit made. But in new age businesses, the key performance indicator is valuation. While as a founder you can deliver scale, it is the investor who delivers the valuation. In your bid to run behind valuation, you tend to make 2 critical mistakes. 1. You tend to think of the investor as someone above you in the food chain, and 2. You lose sight of the fact that the story is between you and the customer. It is important to remember that the investor is just another vendor, only he deploys capital just as someone deploys technology or labor. When I started my company BharatPe, I made the mistake of giving investors a godlike status. You definitely need to avoid it. Of course, in India, since we are living in a capital deficit economy, this thinking is that much harder to implement, but success lies in never losing sight of it. Number 3. Don't hesitate to get your family involved in your business. Give your family a seat at the board. In Western countries, as soon as the child turns 18, he is thrown out into the world to fend for himself. Of course, he is free to come home on vacations where the parents will happily feed him, but that's all there is to it. You are financially separated. In India though, our concept of family is entirely different, and the family occupies pride of place in our overall setup. 99% of profitable businesses in India are family run. In the startup world as well, the only profitable bootstrapped businesses are run by brothers or by a husband-wife duo or a family. Just because your business has capital coming in from the US, you do not have to go by their concept of management of not involving your family in the business. To my mind, the concept of a related party transaction in India is totally irrelevant. If I work with family, I will still give them the same rate as the market and will get the same deliverables. You need to keep in mind that you don't need loyalty in good times. Opportunity does the task. Loyalty is tasted and needed in bad times, and to expect loyalty from your employees or investors in bad times is to set yourself for a heartbreak. After all, people are simply driven by their next paycheck. In bad times, the only people you will find standing beside you will be your family. You cannot even rely on your friends of 20 years. They may go completely silent on you. If you choose to work with your spouse, there should be no hesitation in designating them as co-founders as well as giving them a seat on the board by virtue of their capability, but also of the fact that they are invested in your success and will be the victims of your failure like no one else. Number 4. Don't be a martyr to your own cause. Founder liquidity first. Put yourself first always. Don't feel shy about liquidating your stock at every secondary sale opportunity. A secondary sale is a sale by an existing stockholder to a third-party purchaser, the proceeds of which benefit the selling stockholder. Cash in the bank will only make you bolder. Don't optimize for higher valuations in subsequent rounds. In fact, as a thumb rule, at least 80% of the proceeds of any secondary sale should come to the founders. I have given more cash exits to my angels and employee stockholders than any other founder in India. Not one person, however, was thankful enough to publicly stand by me. People made 80 to 50 times returns and bought homes and cars. I had to literally beg some angels to sell in earlier rounds. They were that greedy. Also make sure that all secondary sales of your company's shares can only happen through you. Never make the mistake of letting them sell in the open market. When it comes to your employees, do not offer them liquidity worth more than 1 year's salary or 50% of their vested shares, whichever is lower. You have to constantly work hard for your business, so do not forget to ask investors for more shares whenever you deliver a milestone beyond their expectations to cover for your dilution. And last but not least, always plan for tax payout. Number 5. Beware of certain professions. Now here is something that I could come under fire for, but that cannot be reason enough for me to shy away from sharing it. In my experience, there are certain professions that suck value from you with nothing to show for it in return. At the extreme end of value destroying professions are, in my opinion, drug peddling, prostitution and pimping, banking, journalism and legal professions. At their best, these professionals and professions offer you false comfort. They may even numb you momentarily, but fundamentally, if you spend disproportionate time on them, they will end up destroying you. You need to be extremely wary of them. Finally, I would definitely encourage you to go ahead and build your own venture by all means if you feel strongly enough about it. There isn't any reason why you should let the thought that you could make mistakes hold you back. My only advice would be to make sure these mistakes are new and not the ones that I made, that I fell prey to and paid a price for. Okay, well that's enough for today's episode. Stay tuned and keep listening to the Wisdom Podcast. Watch episode number 5 of the Wisdom Podcast on the 7 best books that are more useful than having a business degree. Are you a curious individual and a profound independent thinker seeking answers to vital questions about personal growth, business and personal finance? Join me on this podcast and together we will discover secrets to making astronomical progress in life. On this podcast, I ask questions to the world's most influential books on finance, business and personal growth and receive personalized guidance based on the knowledge and wisdom contained within their pages. Join me on this journey as we explore the magic of books that can speak.